Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome back. This is the second video of the day. I hope you don't mind. Please smash the like button for me, like you always do. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic. And I forgot to mention on the game day review just now about the details of these transfers to Galatasaray. Two rumours, two stories that are emerging the day or 2 days after the window closes. Incredibly frustrating stuff. That Davinson Sanchez has agreed personal terms with Galatasaray. The structure of the payment, the structure of the deal is also almost agreed. So Davinson Sanchez will probably be leaving us to go to Galatasaray in the next couple of days. Two questions I have for you really. One is, why now and not on Thursday? What difference did it make to Galatasaray? Have they somehow managed to get some money off the deal by waiting until now? Obviously, for what it's worth, if you're unfamiliar with the rules, Turkey get an extra week on the transfer window than everybody else. And Saudi Arabia get an extra 2 weeks, I believe. So there's still deals that can be done with regard outgoings should the desire arise. And obviously the biggest story that might still happen is Mo Salah might end up going from Liverpool to one of the Saudi clubs for £200 million. Incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible. There's a lot of carnage that could still take place in the Premier League if Saudi and Turkey put together some monster packages and just disrupt to the point where the Premier League clubs that are struggling financially, or even if they're not, they just can't turn down the financial benefits of receiving that sort of sum for a player who's of a certain age, with a certain contract length, etc. You know, it's going to be interesting what happens over the next 2 weeks. But with regards to Tottenham specifically, Davinson Sanchez, so a deal that couldn't be done, the deal that Davinson Sanchez turned down and rejected earlier in the summer. He obviously turned down Spartak Moscow. That was understandable, I guess, given what's happening in that part of the world. He turned down, allegedly, Rennes on deadline day, but he now wants to go to Galatasaray 2 days after the window shuts. I don't know who's responsible for it, whether it was him that's deliberately trying to kind of cause chaos at Tottenham, whether it's Tottenham's ownership like accepting lower bids now, or whether it's Galatasaray trying to take advantage. I don't know, but in any event, it really does annoy me that the deal is now seemingly willing to be completed when we have no option to replace him. And of course the consequences of selling him are that if you get an injury, then where do you go from there? Eric Dyer, is he going to get his squad place? He's more likely to get it if Davinson Sanchez leaves the club. We are still 2 foreign quota players over the limit, and we probably presumed it was going to be Hugo Lloris that didn't get one, and maybe Ndombele didn't get one, but Sanchez and Dyer did. Well, now Sanchez might be leaving, then you probably will give Eric Dyer a spot. But do you really want to see the best of the rest leave the club? You know, Ash Phillips and Dorrington are young players. A lot of people on Twitter are obviously very keen for them to be given a go, and I understand the romance of that scenario, the romance of that story, and also the reality when they look and see the options of, would you rather see Eric Dyer come in over Ash Phillips or Dorrington, given that people know and they dislike Eric Dyer to the level that they do, which I find, you know, a little bit over the top, a little bit exaggerated to me, to be fair. But I listen, everyone's got their own opinion on it. I just find it, whilst it's romantic to think that Ash Phillips and Dorrington could step up when necessary, I think in reality that will come back to be exposed as a really silly idea, because, you know, let's be honest, very few people have watched Ash Phillips play, and so are basing the fact that they would rather him play over Eric Dyer purely on the fact that they don't like Eric Dyer. And I think that's a little bit of heart over head emotion. That's just my opinion, but I know it's not a popular one. I know I said this on Sava's show, and I put the same thing out on Twitter, and everybody pretty much universally disagreed with me and said that they'd rather see Ash Phillips. And we will find out. Ash Phillips got on the bench for the game against Burnley. If an injury happens to Van de Ven or Romero, and it likely will at some point, then we will find out which direction we go in. And I'm happy to see I'll trust Ange whichever direction he goes, and I really hope whoever does step up when they have to can learn on the job, learn quick, and and fill in and hold their own. I just find it a little bit crazy, and to me that's why I'm sitting there kind of torn with the idea of Davinson Sanchez around whether it is smart to let him go, because he is someone that you have at least a little bit more confidence in than the others, I would imagine. Maybe you might think that Eric Dyer is nowhere near as desirable as Ash Phillips, but would you prefer Sanchez over Ash Phillips or Ash Phillips over Sanchez? Let me know in the comments. To me, I'm okay with it. Like, at some point, if you want to get rid of the deadwood, then you have to shake hands with getting rid of the deadwood, what that looks like. And because of the circumstances we found ourselves in, where we couldn't bring a centre back in time, getting rid of Sanchez now will mean that we have, I think, increased risk. But if we don't get rid of him, then it's another problem we're going to have to face in January, or run his contract down. In terms of Davinson Sanchez, like, interest in being at the club, or whether his mind is in the right place, I've got to be honest, when Sonny scored his hat-trick yesterday, he ran to the training area on the pitch, and Sanchez was over the moon for him. He was absolutely, like, pumped. He gave, they hugged each other, jump hug, legs wrapped around Sanchez. It almost looked a little bit, but so I don't know whether Sanchez is turned his head away from Tottenham and wouldn't put in a shift, wouldn't go to fight for the club or the cause. I think he would be a professional. I've always thought his professionalism is fine. It's just his competence is sometimes, and his confidence has sometimes been, edged away at. And when people boo you and things, that doesn't help the situation. Anyway, listen, I'm rambling about Sanchez. This wasn't a conversation about Sanchez, more around the situation that we find ourselves in. Galatasaray could, in fact, complete this deal, and we find ourselves without Sanchez. That leaves us with our two mainstay centre-backs, and after that, Ash Phillips, Dorrington, and Eric Dyer. And of course, you could probably make the argument that Ben Davies could fill in there, even though that's not ideal either. Let me know if you're okay with that one. Second story of the day, going in the same direction, is Giovanni Lo Celso. This one's not quite as concrete or prepared. Ange Postecoglou is trying to convince Lo Celso to stay. He wants him to be back up to Maddison. He thinks he'll be able to find space for him in the squad and get him some minutes. But whether or not Lo Celso is willing to play bit part to an incredible Maddison, and of course Maddison's performances are so good that you can't drop him at the moment. Does Lo Celso want to stay, or does he want to go and rekindle his career? He does have friends at Galatasaray. And Galatasaray seemingly are willing to put in a bid of either somewhere between 18 and 20 million euros. Now, to me, it's almost as tricky a conversation. If the number was 22, 23 million euros, at that point, you kind of have to sit there and think, can we get away? Can we get through until January without Lo Celso if there was an injury to Maddison? What do? Well, Bentancur's back in November, so could you move things around and get the creativity from Bentancur? Possibly. I think he's capable. Could Sars squeeze up the pitch a little bit more? Don't think he's got that kind of that side to him. Could you bring in Decky and put him in there? I think you've got options. It's not going to be perfect, but to me, I think that if you could get 25 million for Lo Celso, I think I'd be willing to take it. 22 million, I think I'd be willing to take it. I don't mind either option. I'm happy for him to stay, but if the number's right, I'm also okay with him going. I think we can make do. I haven't been impressed with Lo Celso in his first few outings of the Premier League season. I was impressed in the pre-season, but what I saw of him in the Premier League games, I haven't seen anything to get excited about. I don't think he understands the assignment quite like Maddison does. And I think he is a player where, if you can get that money, combine it, and then in January you can go again on some of the players that maybe we still need to fill. Obviously January is a very difficult window, and I hear the excuses or the rationales of, like, it's always the next window, we're going to sort it out. I get that. For me though, I'm just thinking they're thinking, we have got a big squad, everyone's not going to get minutes. At the moment we've got great harmony, everyone looks like they're pulling in the same direction, or the most people are. But will that continue to be the case as the season gets more mature and not everyone is getting the minutes that they want? Will there start to be nigglings and kind of discontent and little kind of packs and things happening within the squad that can unsettle everything? That's not unheard of, and it is something we've got to bear in mind. I'd love to know your thoughts, guys. Do you want to keep Lo Celso? Would you sell him at a certain price? Would you not sell him at all? Would you sell him at any price? Let me know. It's less likely for Lo Celso to go than it is for Sanchez. Let me know your thoughts on both guys, and you'll see me on the next one very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. As always, bye-bye.